Hello, hockey fans. What a week, huh? First off, I just have to say it. So many goals, so many goals. Of course, Saturday night we had the 9-5 game in the Battle of Alberta. It was crazy, and all this talk, and of course there was a lot of talk going back to the '80s because they say, of course, the '80s that was a decade of a lot of high scoring. But yeah, 9-5. Calgary won that game over Edmonton, and they ruined Dreisaitl's hat trick because remember because it's crazy. I read the stats myself, and they were mind-boggling. I mean, he had a hat trick and an assist, but he was a -4. Connor McDavid was a -4. Evander Kane was a -4. Ryan Nugent Hopkins had a goal with 3 assists, a 4.9, but he was a +1. I mean, those are great numbers. They had great numbers, but that ruins a plus minus. Plus minus is. I take that seriously now because I'm in fantasy hockey. Plus minus is one of the key topics categories that you got to win. But yeah, you have a hat trick and an assist, and you're a -4. Something is wrong with the goaltending. Something's really wrong with the goaltending. But it gets better. It gets better because, of course, earlier tonight, Pittsburgh. My goodness, 11-2. Can you believe that? 11-2. They beat Detroit 11-2, and I said this on social media. Everybody talked about how bad the goaltending was in Toronto and Edmonton, yet nobody talked about Detroit. This is the second time. This is the second time this season that a team has scored 10, and both times it was against the Red Wings. Yeah, the Red Wings were the ones that gave up the 10 goals to Toronto in that wild game, that wild Saturday night game a few weeks ago, and now they were in Pittsburgh getting losing 11-2. My goodness. Ooh. Goals, goals, goals. Isn't that something? The scoring is going up. This is what the league wanted about 16 years ago. Actually, 17 years ago. I'm sorry. This is the league. This is what the league wanted. They made when they came back from that crippling lockout in 2005. They made two-line passes legal. They made the certain equipment, certain goal equipment smaller, and they changed the rules to increase offense, and boy, did it pay off. The scores are coming in, coming in, coming in. There's no goal. There's no goaltender duel, goaltender duels anymore. So and it's just been a wild week. It's just been a wild week of a lot of scoring and a lot of crazy changes in the standings. And speaking of which, let's get to that because this is the last this is the last Sunday in March, and uh, all those hockey games that ended hours ago, and the month is running out. There's less than 5 weeks left. There are 33 days left in the NHL season. We are heading right into the very important month of April. It's almost a full month. The season ends on April 29th. So yeah, so there are 33 days left, and with that little time left, oh, uh, I'll bring this up later. It'll come up later. With that little time left, I'm sorry. Let's get to the standings where things look already. First off, the Atlantic Division. I have to talk about that first because there were a lot of crazy changes. The Atlantic Division, the Florida Panthers are still in first place at 94 points. That's the only thing that didn't change in the last few days. Um, right behind them is the Tampa Bay Lightning with 88, Toronto with 87. So that's the top three. But it wasn't. Well, it's crazy. This is what the top three was for most of the season, but it changed a lot. Toronto actually finally made it to second place a few days ago, and Tampa went on a bit of a mini skid that dropped them to the wild card standings. Yeah, and then Toronto found themselves in as a wild card entering, I think, entering today's action. But they won their game against Florida. And now they've moved back up to the top three. So this is what the top three has been for a while, but it didn't go like that for days. Uh, Toronto and Boston actually have the same exact record. 41, 19, 5, 87 points. Same exact record, which means same exact games played, but Toronto has 35 regulation wins to Boston's 33. That's why Toronto's in the top three. That's the only reason why. Oh, and they play each other. They play each other on Tuesday. Oh boy. But yeah, in the Metro, that hasn't changed much. It's Carolina leading with 93. Pittsburgh made it to 90. And the Rangers, who had an overtime win against the Sabres, they're at 89. It's pretty close to that Metro. It's going to pretty much take the whole season to figure out who's going to finish in first that division. The wild cards are Boston and Washington, because of course they are. But yeah, the positions will change. But we pretty much know who the 8 teams are. And we also finally have an elimination. No spots have been clinched yet, but we have an elimination. The Montreal Canadiens are officially not going to the play. Well, they never were, because they had a bad season. But the Montreal Canadiens became the first team to be eliminated from playoff contention. Their elimination came this past Friday, March 25th. They did not play that day, but when the Washington Capitals won their shootout that night, that eliminated Montreal. It's an end to a shockingly disappointing season. Coming off their big run to Stanley Cup final last year, they fell 3 wins short of winning what would have been their 25th Stanley Cup, but it's not to be this year. Montreal's season is over, but they have been winning some games lately. The change in coach has kind of helped things. It's definitely helped Cole Caulfield, because he's scoring like nobody's business. Yeah. So that's it for the Habs. They're done. Now, on to the Western Conference, and still number 1 in the West and number 1 overall. These guys, yes, the Avalanche are still number 1 in the entire NHL. We had a bit of a rocky week, and it ended kind of rocky. An overtime loss to Minnesota. We had to work to get that extra point because that dumb penalty in the end. But Colorado leads with 98. That's right. We are 2 points, 1 win away from the century mark. It'll be our first 100-point season since the 13-14 year, which is the first year that these divisions were created. So Colorado's leads with 98, 10 points ahead of the other division leader, Calgary, and 14 points ahead in the in the Central Division. Like I said, nobody's clinched a spot yet. However, this upcoming week could see the Avs get in. I think the magic number as far as points is 7. So we could get into the playoffs probably some point this week. We don't know. Possible. So I'll keep an eye out. But yes, Minnesota is in a distant second at 84 points. Nashville moved up to 3rd place with their win against Philly with 80 points. As for the Pacific, top 3 remains the same. Calgary with 88, the Kings with 81, and Edmonton coming off that 9-5 loss at third place at 77 points. The wild cards are St. Louis and Vegas. Yes, Vegas did make it back above the playoff line because the Blackhawks can't hold a lead. Vegas is 76 points. They made it above the playoff line, as I said. Dallas is 1 point behind. That loss to Vancouver came at a bad time, so they're 1 point behind with 75. Winnipeg, with their overtime win over Arizona, they're 2 points behind. They have 74. Vancouver with 73. San Jose moved past the Ducks by beating them. The Ducks, I think they're screwed. They've lost 9 in a row. They've lost 9 straight games. I think it's 15 out of their last 19. And I don't get it. This team, at the All-Star break, they were doing so well. Because I was thinking, man, the Ducks and the Kings are going to be in the playoffs together. That's going to be great. But then they started losing. They have fallen off. Like I said, they've lost 9 in a row. It's just bad. But yeah, San Jose has moved past them. So, But yeah, so it's basically, as far as the wild card, the Western Conference is pretty much divided into its select groups. You have the race to second place because none of those teams are passing Colorado. The Pacific race is interesting, and you have the wild card race. It's pretty close. You have Vegas, Dallas, Winnipeg, and Vancouver. 3 points separating those four teams. And the reality still exists. Vegas could miss the playoffs. They would deserve it too, because boy, they really screwed up that attempt to trade of getting the dollar, all to create cap space. They tried to trade him to the Ducks. There was one problem. He had a no trade clause. He was the 10 teams he wanted to be traded to, and the Ducks were on that list. Now Vegas says Ottawa, who they received from him in a trade, didn't give him the list. That sounds too convenient. You can't trust the Golden Knights. You really can't. But yeah, so they're stuck with Dodov, who actually scored the overtime winner against the Blackhawks in that comeback. So yeah, they better start the butt kissing. But anyway, so that's a look at the picture. With 33 days left of the season, time is winding down. We're almost in the month of April. Let's see what kind of games we can look forward to in the following week. Tomorrow, Monday, Capitals and Hurricanes will be on the NHL Network. That should be a good one. Vancouver, St. Louis, two teams also jockeying the position in the Eastern Conference. They'll be facing each other that Monday. Tuesday, 29th, as I said, Toronto faces Boston. Whoever wins will be in third place at the moment. And Carolina heads to Tampa Bay to face the defending champions. Ooh, boy. Rangers in Pittsburgh, two of the top three in the Metropolitan. Avs and Flames play each other on Tuesday. It's the third and final meeting of the regular season, but it's the first and only one in Calgary. The first two were in Denver. And it's the battle of the first place teams in the Western Conference. That could be the conference final. Who knows? Wednesday, the TNT doubleheader is Rangers in Detroit and Vegas, Seattle. Not really meaty, but here's a meaty game. A couple of them. St. Louis and Vancouver, and the Kings in Edmonton. Ooh, if that's a playoff series, that could be the first round this year. Thursday, the 31st, Winnipeg and Toronto. Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and the Avs host the Sharks. Oh, and the Kings face the Flames. That should be interesting, too. Friday, April Fool's Day. And how fitting Vegas is playing, because they were sure fools. Vegas is in Seattle. Again, my goodness. April 2nd. Oh, that's the day I'm waiting for. Not just because it's the first day of WrestleMania, but ABC's game of the week on this upcoming Saturday, April 2nd, Penguins Avalanche. Oh, Crosby versus McKinnon. That's going to be good. That is going to be good. That could be the final. Who knows? But yeah, Avs host the Penguins Saturday, April 2nd. That'll be a nice treat for me to watch before I watch WrestleMania. Hell yeah. Or should I say, oh, hell yeah. Then you have Tampa Bay and Montreal, the Cup rematch. But that's on the NHL Network. I kind of think Toronto and Philadelphia should be, but that's just me. And on Sunday, TNT's game is Devils and Islanders. That's not really meaty because these two teams aren't going anywhere. But NHL Network will have the Rangers hosting the Flyers. Okay, so that's what we have to look forward to in the upcoming week. Thank you for watching. Click the like button if you like this video. Click subscribe if you want more. My stories, two stories. My stories on the Minnesota Wild and the Montreal Canadiens will be in the description below. So check them out when you can. I will be back next week. This time next week to recap the week that was, and if Colorado should happen to clinch a playoff spot, I'll be back then. But that's my recap of this. That's my recap of this week. So stay tuned.